Ferrari's smart solution for 2023. This week, McLaren, Aston Martin, Ferrari and Mercedes all showed off their new Formula One cars. Even though most teams probably won't show off all of their new ideas just yet, there have been a few big changes and trends across the grid so far. One interesting thing about the Ferrari's SF23 is how its front wing is made. Their new car's front wing had front wing slot gap separators that were similar to what Mercedes used on their car at last year's US Grand Prix. Ferrari has gone this way with their design, which was made possible by a key change to the rules. It was said that Mercedes' design went against the spirit of the rules because it was made to make the car go faster through the air. So why is Ferrari's front wing legal but Mercedes wasn't? Let's have a look. It's been 16 years since Ferrari last won a Drivers' Championship, and Charles Leclerc said the Scuderia's 2023 challenger will finally break the streak. When Ferrari showed off the SF23 for the first time in Maranello, people with sharp eyes noticed that it has slot gap generators that look like the ones Mercedes had to stop using last season. Mercedes used the design during practice for the Mexican Grand Prix, but they didn't commit to qualifying or the race in order to avoid possible protests. Later it was banned because it was said to go against the spirit of the rules because it could be used to improve aerodynamics, which would make the 2022 cars, which are meant to make races closer, less effective. Now, it's surprising that Ferrari's new 2023 car has the same kind of front wing. It also shows exactly 5 fins per wing side, but a rule change seems to have made it possible now. Mercedes engineer Mike Elliott explained the problem at the time, saying that the rules said the main use was for mechanical or measuring purposes, but it was clear that there was also a secondary benefit of an aerodynamic design in there. What makes Ferrari's wing different is that there seems to have been a change in the rules that now lets them use the fin's secondary aerodynamic benefits. This is different from the 2022 rules, which said that the front wing fins should mostly be used for mechanical and structural purposes. The 2023 technical regulations have been changed so that the fins are no longer the main focus. Ferrari took advantage of this change to make a front wing that is both mechanically and aerodynamically better. In Article 3.9.8, a line has been drawn that says the front wing fins can only be used for mechanical and structural purposes. Ferrari has been paying close attention and has noticed that the secondary aerodynamic benefits may be added back in. Ferrari's advantage is still up in the air. Ferrari must hope that this, along with the changes they've made to the chassis, will be enough to keep up with Red Bull for longer than in 2022. Head of chassis area Enrico Cardile explained the changes. Our 2023 car is an evolution of the one we raced last year, but in reality it has been completely redesigned. On the aerodynamic side, we increased vertical downforce to better fit the new aero regulations and get the balance we wanted. We also changed the suspension to help with aerodynamics and make it easier to make changes to the car at the track. The most noticeable change is that we switched to a low track rod for the front suspension. The front wing and nose are also different, and the bodywork is a more extreme version of what we saw last season. It looks like a slimmer version of last year's Ferrari. The front lower corners of the side pods are scalloped, which suggests that, like almost every other car released so far, some radiator area has been moved from there to the shoulders of the car. It still has the bathtub shape at the top of the side pods, with a depression that helps pull air out and sends it to the rear beam wing. The new cooling system doesn't have a cannon like the one on the Red Bull car, which shoots air out the back. Instead, the bodywork where the engine cover and side pod tops meet behind the cockpit is still very open. The nose looks a little bit flatter, and the front wing that was used to launch the car had slot gap separators that were angled to make vortices. These vortices will help speed the airflow towards the floor inlets at the bottom of the side pods. Mercedes made a wing similar to this one last year and showed it off in Austin and Mexico, but the FIA said it didn't follow the rules because the main purpose of the slot gap separators in this case wasn't to keep the structure together but to make the wing more aerodynamic.
Charles Leclerc just behind his teammate Carlos Sainz through the next...
It remains to be seen if Ferrari's version of the same idea, which is more subtle, will be accepted. The new team principal, Vasseur, was also there to oversee the launch. He arrived to Ferrari from Alfa Romeo over the winter to replace Mattia Binotto. He started work at Ferrari in early January. With the new season coming up, Vasseur will work to fix the problems that hurt Ferrari's chances of beating rival Red Bull to the title in 2022. These problems included unreliability, mistakes in strategy, and driver mistakes. Even though there are changes at the top of the team, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz will continue to drive together for a third season. Leclerc recently said that he and the team's recent setbacks have made him feel more mature. Vasseur was also optimistic after his first 2 weeks at Ferrari. He said that based on what he had seen so far, the Scuderia had everything they needed to win. During Ferrari's presentation, Vasseur talked about the season to come. He said, "It's always emotional for a team to do the launch. My part in this is very small, but I can feel the work that has been done on the car. Now it will be a new journey for the project because the car will move to the race team. It's a great feeling. When you're back on track, it's like when you're back at school. I can feel that everybody is very proud of the job done, and this feeling is very important for the motivation of everybody and for the season. It will be quite a long season, but the motivation is there and it's crucial in terms of performance." Aside from the new cooling system and front wing, the most interesting thing added to the SF23 is the side duct that is placed next to the trailing leg of the halo. It makes the chassis wider as it gets closer to the cockpit. As of now, we don't know if this is just an extra cooling outlet or if it's more of an aerodynamic boost for the team. If it's the latter, it would have been powered by an inlet that was cleverly hidden under the main side pod inlet. Only time will tell which of these two options is the best for the SF23. Keep in mind that Ferrari also made changes to the main inlet. This part was changed and more work was done to make the undercut deeper. The lower side impact protection spar tip is now exposed and a bodywork blister is used to cover it up. But none of these are as interesting as the front plate, which has been talked about a lot in the past few months. Time will tell if the FIA will come forward with their own explanation of the rules and why they suddenly decided to change that one sentence in the regulation that let Ferrari use this design. Mercedes seems to be getting the short end of the stick because they were the ones who made it, and now it's being taken away from them and given to their biggest rivals. It's still not clear how well Ferrari's front wing will work or if Mercedes has made a similar design for their 2023 car, which will be tested for the first time later this month before the season starts. But the addition of these fins is likely to cause debate among motorsport fans and experts, since teams keep pushing the limits of what the rules allow. The last time Ferrari won an F1 world title was in 2008, when they won the Constructors' Championship. Kimi Räikkönen won the Drivers' title for them the year before. The team is putting the SF23 through its paces at Fiorano before packing up and heading to Bahrain for pre-season testing from February 23rd to 25th. The first race will be held a week after that. What do you think of Ferrari's new car? Do you think it will be enough to beat Verstappen and Red Bull, and maybe finally win the championship title after all this time? Let us know in the comments below.